We are all social creatures, living in social constructs that dictate how we should function in a society. From an evolutionary standpoint, herd mentality helped in protecting individuals from threats and predators. It also helped us to be wary of strange plants and herbs that could possibly kill us. When everyone thinks in similar ways, they can then agree on certain principles and grounds that could lead to a more peaceful, safe society. Feel free to sit back, get the bongs ready, and join the discussion. We are going to take another journey into the depths of philosophy.
People living on the outside, living on the wrong side, living on the outside, living on the wrong side.
Who are you? As an individual, how much do you know of yourselves? What are certain points that you said you'd never pass? Certain rules you said you'd never break? What if you ended up in a strange place or a strange time like today, and everyone was doing things that went against your beliefs, that went against what you stand for? What do you do then? When everyone goes along a path that you know to yourself is degrading, taking away your freedoms as a human being, and leading you closer and closer to that Orwellian society, it is painfully obvious of how much people are unaware of the fact that their rights are getting stripped away more and more each day. They then rationalize their enslavements as being in the best interest of society, when it could not be further from the truth. Being brought up in a mix of the Pentecostal faith as well as Rastafarianism, I spent most of my youth hearing sermons of deliverance from demons, healing of the sick, raising of the dead, and the might and power of God. I believed strongly in the scriptures and the power of the Almighty One.
Because I will always break those barriers and burn down bondage. Oh Lord God Almighty, grant me all privilege. You see, I have to overcome all the wicked, them and them false things. I have no wife, God, don't teach me.
In Rastafarianism, many prophets foretold the coming of days when corrupt systems in high places would subjugate and invert righteousness in more and more ways than they had already done. Many reggae singers preached against the ways of Babylon and urged mankind to return to a higher level of consciousness. When you are brought up like this, and you see these evil people close down the churches and even other houses of worship, deeming them as non-essential, you can't help but wonder how blind people are. It shows clearly the nature of the forces that be. To deem the church as non-essential is such a spit in the face. It is such an insult and disrespect to one's faith. Why should you say in God we trust? Take the quote off of your currency. You don't trust in God. You, in no uncertain terms, tell your nation that there is no God, and if there was, you truly had disrespected him. People gave up their lives so that they could be free to worship in spirit and in truth. And you now come and tell your descendants that your ancestors died in vain, that your religion is based on a lie and is non-essential. Wow, that just blows my mind. Cigarettes are deadly. The nicotine, as well as the thousands of other harmful chemicals found in them, causes cancer. It causes diabetes, strokes, heart attacks, and premature ejaculation in men, sometimes even making men unable to get erections. They knew all of the negative effects of cigarette, yet still cigarette companies were given the green light to create illegal poison. They brought in Mr. Bernet, nephew of Sigmund Freud, to advertise their poison to women so that their profits could double. Bernet set up his Torches of Freedom advertisements that would revolutionize the concept and image of women smoking forever. They inverted male and female relations, discrediting the patriarchy. If it was simply a plea to gain equality, that would be understandable, but they championed feminism instead that men ended up being despised and underprivileged. Masculine energy is a very powerful and dangerous thing. It leads to the creation of tools, roads, buildings, civilizations, etc. It is also the force of war and rebellion. This type of energy created the patriarchy that stood for structure, order, and it formed the basis of all religions, at least most of them, especially the major ones. You can see how this could easily be a problem for the oligarchy. For them to fully control and gain total dictatorship of our societies, the spirit of man needed to be obliterated. Flesh that burn, bones that break, but to crush a man's spirit is to truly destroy him. Laws that favored women over men in all aspects put men in positions of weakness. The education systems that they corrupted indoctrinated young boys to view their masculinity as bad, to be more feminine and docile. The little girls to be strong and independent. Now many males grow up feeling their instincts to start relationships and families, but they were programmed to be so docile and feminine that they lack the attraction factor that lays in the masculine power. Women look for relationships too, but find these prospects unattractive, since only masculine energy can fully satisfy the feminine energy. The women are also at a disadvantage themselves, being trained to be independent and strong, while being taught that being a homemaker is a sign of oppression and weakness, cause the women to be handicapped in the skills necessary to facilitate child rearing and maintaining long-distance relationships. I love music and find many different genres interesting. Music is also an indicator of the state of a society. The earlier forms of music, country rock, gave us singers like Willie Nelson, Jimmy Rogers, and Johnny Cash. These songs represented strength and masculinity. Classic rock and roll did the same thing. Hip-hop and rap in the 80s and 90s were more about machiness and Afro-American suffrage. 70s and 80s soul music were about love and genuine affection for one another. As the times changed, so did the music. soul became more about men professing undying love to their women, even if the women hurt them or leave them for another guy. It became more about putting women on pedestals and less about reciprocity of genuine love. It was in the 2000s that genres of music started to fuse together. Pop music encapsulating all of them. As the different genres started to die, pop music became more and more prevalent in Western music. It was around these times that music became about soft, high-pitched guys singing about how women hurt them and how much they loved their women. Women, on the other hand, started to sing more about money, playing men, and telling guys that if they wanted a shot with them, they had to reach up to their standards. This clearly showed the power shift from men to women. As the times grew closer and closer to 2020, the music became more about female bosses and male simps. Rap music lost all of its merits and had trap take its place, which is like a fuse of like pop and rap, at least to me. Trap showed the watered down state of masculine power in the black community. Look at most, if not all, of these trap singers. They seem feminine, weak, and childish. It's hard to take them seriously. All they have are cool beats without substance, without that tough hardcore soul. How some of you guys are able to stand trap music is beyond me. Now that men are in their fallen state, they can now more easily instill their plans and agenda without much to fear in terms of rebellion. The women were never an issue to them, as women followed herd mentality more so than men. The puppet master's greatest tool was and is the manipulation of herd mentality and the inversion of the truth. I sometimes follow up Computing Forever. If you guys know who he is, I think his name is Dave Cullen or so. This guy, he knows what's up. And he speaks about the new form of control that these people are now using in the label of coronavirus. Facts after facts after facts of scientific evidence are produced by the scientists and doctors that he interviews. But they discredit him. And the scientists and doctors that he interviews, because their views do not coincide with those of the mainstream narrative, are discredited also. We are in quite a unique situation now, because freedom of speech has been attacked so much that it is now a dying liberty. Who are we as a people that we can so comfortably sit aside and do nothing while these people do the things that they do to us? We don't, because we follow group mentality. The general populace believes the narrative given by mainstream media and doctors, all of which are given directives by a corrupt WHO. If you really studied this organization and the things they have done, your blood would run cold. All over the world, the remedies and cures for an inflated virus have been discredited by this organization, which in my eyes is the spokesman for the oligarchy. David Icke, another leader in alternative thought, was silenced due to his expressing his thoughts on the state of our modern society. It should also be worth mentioning that these events taking place today should be taken as an eye-opener that bioweapons capable of wiping out millions of people are possible if the right chemicals are used for the wrong reasons. This could easily create a zombie-type reality if they wanted. They could easily turn us into mutated freaks if they wanted to. Don't you see the amount of power that is wielded by this group that cares so very little as to whether you live or die? Your happiness, your peace of mind is not important to them. Your subservience is of greater value. The great toilet paper rush of 2020 is symbolic of how easily people who are deceived can act in irrational ways. Just look at this video. Yeah, I mean, that's just terrible. That just shows you how easily it is for the oligarchy to use their oppressive power and influences on the media to get the general populace to go along with their narrative or their directive. It really is sad. But there is still fight left in the human spirit. It is being eroded slowly, but if we stick together, we can maintain our freedom and rights. Here is how a people stand up for their constitutional and human rights.
But the Trump-Pence regime is making it deadlier.
This is what we need in order to stay free as a people. The more we are faced by oppression, unfortunately, is the more we'll have to resort to more drastic forces of pushback and resilience. The future hints at more and more forms of oppression to come, and in increasingly overt ways, utilizing the police state more and more. If it comes to that, we need to find the ammunition store. As in the words of the great Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. See you next time.